Well, hello viewers. It's great to be back with you for our fourth quarter webinar. As Joe mentioned at the top of the show, it's been an exciting quarter here at Wespath. And that's primarily due to the fact that we recently launched a new fund in the I-Series. Again, following along with our vision of providing more choice to our clients. So joining me here today to talk about our new fund launch is Hoa Quach, our Director of Public Markets.
Hi.
And then Myles Smith, one of our many analysts.
Hi.
Well, welcome and hello, and thank you both for joining me today. Many of the viewers have heard about our new product launch, which is our Social Values Choice. It's a unique and special fund specific to Wespath, which we'll talk more about today. The funds are one of our funds that are heightened screens around values alignment, specifically around climate risk and human rights. And so big picture, the exciting part of talking about these funds today is really in line with our investment excellence and some of the investment process and manager selection that have gone into these new fund products. So what I want to talk a little bit about before I get into the specifics about the fund is our investment process, Hoa. So if I could start with you and ask you a few questions.
Sure. Well, as someone who likes to think about things in steps and logical sequences, I think of our investment process in three distinct phases. The first is fund construction. This is where we determine what's the objective of this fund, how are we going to make this fund work for our investors and to help them achieve their investment objectives, whether it's thinking about the benchmark, the asset allocation, sub-asset allocation. All those decisions are very important to establishing what the fund will look like. And once we understand what the fund is going to look like, we have to move on to manager selection. At Wespath, we work with external managers to help manage our funds. And in this step, we have a very robust and disciplined process where we vet a number of managers, we put them through a very strict evaluation process, and in the end, we bring our recommendations to the investment committee, who really help us to make those decisions for our funds. And once we have these funds set, the monitoring process is ongoing and constant. We're always looking at the funds, the managers in our funds, making sure that everything is doing what we expect it to do. And so that is our three-step process.
Yeah. And I know there's many layers to it, and you mentioned the manager selection process, Hoa. Myles, I know you were really involved in the manager selection piece for Social Values Choice. Could you tell us a little bit specifically about our manager selection process?
Yeah, there are so many factors and considerations that go into the manager selection process. For Wespath, it's important that we can correctly identify and understand a manager's unique strengths and core competencies relative to their competitors, whether that's at the organizational level or at the individual mandate level. Secondly, we must ensure during our process that the firm's internal processes are sound. One of the ways that we do this is through a rigorous on-site due diligence visit where we're meeting not only at length with members of the portfolio management team, but also meeting with people from other areas of the firm, such as trading, operations, and compliance. Specifically with the Social Values Choice funds, given the unique investment objectives of the funds, we were also looking closely at implementation and potential partnership opportunities. Related to implementation, given that there are a higher level of exclusions on these funds than our other funds, it was important that the manager we selected was able to effectively implement those exclusions while managing and mitigating for risk. And then related to partnership opportunities, we were looking beyond the scope of the single strategy to see if there were any potential opportunities for Wespath and the manager to knowledge share, engage on different things in the future.
Thank you for that. And I know, Myles, you mentioned about building partnerships, and I think as clients and investors really get to know the social values funds, they're going to really better understand the asset manager within that fund and how we actually are building a partnership there. And why, obviously having strategic partnerships with asset managers and leveraging resources is sort of core to what we do and ultimately deliver to our clients. Can you talk to me a little bit more about, casting a wider net in manager selection and how important it is for us to kind of go beyond databases for information on managers?
Definitely, Johara. I think one of the important things to understand is databases are available to everyone, and of course we use those. But I think the real value is going beyond those databases and finding those managers that are maybe up and coming or ones that others haven't heard of. And we do that by attending conferences, by industry events where we meet new managers. But I think the most important thing is the networks that we all have. Just on the public markets team, we have people with decades of experience in manager research, and we know so many managers out there, and they really help us to point out some of the up-and-coming managers that have maybe left a bigger firm and to start their own firm, or some of the minority women-owned and other emerging managers. So as we cast a very wide net, we have an open-door policy. We'll meet with any manager that might have a strategy that benefits our funds.
That's well said, Hoa. And from our experience, we've had those opportunities where you've had relationships at the larger banks with individuals that ultimately decide to be entrepreneurs, and having those relationships early on really help you build the trust that you need ultimately to invest with a smaller boutique managers.
Definitely, and just to highlight that, I think since August 1st, we've met with over, 50 managers that are new to Wespath.
That's
So
fantastic.
That's great.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about these wonderful social values choice funds that we're here today to actually talk about. So we're going to pull up a QR code now with some more information about the funds if you're interested in them. But again, specifically, we've talked about the funds fundamentally being values aligned for those that have more interest around concerns related to climate risk or human rights, and then the importance of aligning the underlying asset manager who has similar values and experience and expertise. I think these funds are unique to Wespath in the sense that we have strong leadership when it comes to sustainability in-house here and expertise. And so these funds are just building on some of the expertise, not only that we have on manager selection, but also broadly in the industry related to sustainability, climate risk, and other investment-related risks when it comes to investing. So we've had these funds here. We've expanded them now. We have an equity fund and a bond fund. The bond fund manager is PIMCO. It's a long-standing partnership within the fixed income portfolio here at Wespath. And then our new asset manager, Xponance, which is a minority and women-owned manager that you'll hear more from later on in the webinar. So with that, Myles, again, you were really involved deeply in Social Values Choice Funds. It was probably one of the first projects I sort of assigned when I first got here to Wespath. So I think it's an exciting conclusion here that we have. Are there any takeaways that you'd want to share broadly?
Yeah, and I think specifically with the process, we've talked about the investment process as the roadmap for public markets and for investment management in terms of search and evaluation and ongoing work, but public markets and investment management doesn't make these decisions in isolation. It requires the entire investments division, and that was really apparent during the process. We received valuable insights from Joe and the IAS team, which helped us identify gaps in our investment offering. Jake and Lucas with SIS were instrumental in helping us evaluate and provide feedback on these managers from an ESG standpoint, a data integration standpoint, and an engagement standpoint. So it was really the collective group that helped us come together and make a great decision that will have, I hope, a great portfolio for our investors and clients. And then lastly, I'll just touch on fees for value. Johara, you've made that clear to us, fees for value and enhancing the investor's experience, and proud and happy to say that we were able to reduce the management fees on the equity fund by over 50%. So
that's fantastic. And I know you spent a lot of time on risk management too, Myles, related to the fund and ensuring the benchmarks were appropriate. and aligned with still the values, but also ensuring investment excellence and our ability to exclude certain stocks and bonds in a way that still will add value for the long term.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I appreciate having the time with both of you to talk about the social values choice funds. And Hoa, I'd love to ask you any similar questions or anything that you want to wrap up with.
Definitely.
Okay.
You know, one of the things that we're always trying to do is enhance our funds. You know, we don't rest. And as much as I think this fund is great as it is, both the funds, you know, we're working with Jake and Lucas from the Sustainable Investment Team to see if we can enhance the funds even further and even better reflect the values of Wespath in those funds.
That's really goes back to the partnership and really working with the internal team, working with the asset manager, just to continue to provide the best product possible for our clients.
Yes.
All right, well, thank you guys again, because it has been an honor to sit here with you to talk about social values choice. I do believe it's such a unique and special product that Wespath offers. And so for this, I'd love to remind everyone that our final segment on the webinar is an interview with myself and the CEO and founder of Xponance, Tina Biles-Williams. So Tina and I talked about her background. We talked specifically about the history of Xponance and so much more. So hopefully you guys will have that opportunity to view it and enjoy it. So thank you.